Hello folks, another Wednesday and another whiskey with me, Phil. Now this week, we've got something a little bit interesting, and this letter here kind of demonstrates why it's a bit interesting. So this is a letter from the Loch Fyne Whiskey shop, and for the attention of Whiskey Wednesday, please find enclosed a sample of our exclusive 21-year-old Springbank. This whiskey was distilled in December 1992, bottled in March of 2014, and bottled at 51.6%. It was Cask reference number 326, and it was privately owned. This is the first time it's been made available to the public. This whiskey is available to purchase in their shop for 220 quid. And kind regards, Rowan Shilland. Rowan, I believe, is the manager of Loch Fyne. So thank you very much for that, Rowan. Very nice of you to send this to me. And so yeah, 21-year-old single cask Springbank. Now, that's not something you can come across every day, is it? Privately owned cask. I was chatting a little bit to Rowan about this, and it used to be owned by a gentleman, and he just got a little bit bored of having hundreds of bottles of Springbank in his house, so Loch Fyne bought it off him. 220 quid in general is not a bad price for a 21-year-old single cask, especially stuff distilled in the early 1990s. And I have literally just caught a glimpse of what is in my glass, and there is just bits of wood and all sorts of things floating around in there. So this is as non-chill filtered as it gets. From the colour, you assume a bourbon barrel, and if you talk to any whiskey fan anywhere in the world, it's kind of difficult to not get into a conversation about Springbank. Independently owned since 1828 by the same family, owns numerous other distilleries already, produces some amazing whiskey, never had a bad Springbank, it's all been really good, single cask or official bottling. This is a, if we assume it's a typical Springbank distillation, it's a 2.5 times distilled, lightly peated style. For 2.5 times distillation, Springbank just they combine double distilled and triple distilled whiskey, rather than the Mortlach way, which is 2.81 times distilled. And every time I look at a Mortlach distillation diagram, my mind begins to just break and steam comes out my ears. So this is 2.5 times distilled, lightly peated, 21 years old, cash strength, bourbon barrel, non-chill filtered, and natural colour. And yeah, it looks like a typical bourbon maturation, really. It sticks to the glass very well, which is nice. Let's have a nose. Before we do though, I'll have a bit of water, just because I've eaten something a bit spicy. Definitively Campbelltown. All Campbelltown whiskies, specifically Springbank, Long Row, that kind of vibe, the big ones. Even Glen Scotia next. Glen Scotia's having a little bit of a rise again, which is good. They have that distinctly earthy sweetness about them. It's not Islay, it's not Ireland, but there is just this wonderful kind of like grilled vegetable thing going on with it. There's like kind of carrots and turnips and sweet potatoes and that kind of thing. Given that though, it's not as vegetable as it sounds, because underneath it there's some wonderful elements of kind of fudge and caramel, a little bit of ginger, and there's the tiniest emphasis on kind of really creamy milk chocolate. Well, I've got the contents of the barrel in the glass, so let's have a little taste. Whoa. It's hard to understand how that guy got tired of drinking that to sell the cask, or the remaining bottles. Wow, that's complex. Okay, where do I start? The palate initially is probably one of the chewiest things I've ever come across. Like, I can taste, not only can I still taste barley, which for me is a big selling point in any whiskey. If I can still taste barley, fantastic. There's no sort of professional thing towards that. I just really like the ability to still taste some new mixed spirit above 21 years worth of cask maturation. There's the smallest hint at phenol content. And when I mean that, I don't mean the smell of a Laphroaig or the smell of an Ardbeg. I mean the empty glass. Once you've finished it, that kind of bouquet, perfume, slightly floral peat element, that's kicking around in there. Those little hints of sweetness on the nose, that kind of the fudginess and that creamy milk chocolate style, my god, that comes through so much. I recently tried some awesome sort of handmade fudge when I was in York, and that was like the creamiest, largest texture I've ever tried in my life in terms of sweet stuff. That is not too far away from it. There is so much thickness. That in turn is counteracted by a different side of that phenol content, which is something that I always get with kind of bourbon cask Lagavulin, which is kind of lemon rind and lime, little hints of citrus that's slightly bitter. And then we move on to the finish, and it just goes on for so long. It is, I mean, anyone who's ever tried a Springbank, be it 10-year-old, the 12-year-old cash strength, the 15-year-old, the official 21-year-old, which I think is about the same price as that, about 200 and something-ish pounds. It just doesn't stop as a whiskey. It keeps on giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. And you think that's odd, you think it's a combination of double distill and triple distill whiskey. That is a little bit unusual. But wow, that is, I can still taste it now. I mean, I know we're only, how many days are we into? We are only 24 days into January. But that's, I feel like I'll still be able to taste this in March. And if you haven't tried Springbank, this is difficult for me to explain, but it's undeniably Springbank. That kind of bitter citrus, that light phenol character, elements of that 21-year-old bourbon cask just giving and giving and giving. There's not a lot of vanilla, there's not a lot of caramel. It is more that kind of bittersweet, citric side of things. And a mouthfeel to boot that is just like drinking pure butterscotch and fudge. Because it is cask strength, and this is quite a special whiskey, I will add just a wee bit of water, just to see if anything changes. Because with these single cask whiskies at cask strength, this might actually turn into quite a long video, I'm not sure. It's always worth trying half of it without, and then half of it with. Because a lot of people will say, oh no, I can drink Glenfarclas 105 straight, I can drink Aberlour Buna straight. That's fantastic if you can, but if you drink a lot of it, you're going to hurt yourself. Especially if you drink a lot of it in general. This whiskey, because it is so special and unique, as all Springbank is, I think a little bit of water might just open it up a little bit. And we can definitely say it's non-chill filtered, as there's a nice bit of Scotch mist appearing in the glass. On the nose, just more definition of that lemon, more definition of that lime. There's the bourbon cask. There's the vanilla, there's the caramel. And if the finish gets a bit more ashy, you get the peat a bit more in the finish, if you add water. What a whiskey indeed. So I have to say again, thank you very much to Rowan for sending me that, because that is something very nice to receive in the post. Hopefully there'll be some more samples coming soon. But yeah, thank you very much for that, Rowan. I love Springbank, I love Long Row, I like Glen Scotia. Not a big Hazelburn fan, but there you go. I'm going to give that a good 8.5 out of 10. The finish is just remarkable. I don't think I've ever had a whiskey that goes on for that long that wasn't something ridiculously expensive like Port Ellen, or like Kalila single casks and all that kind of stuff. Old West Coast whiskey. Whereas that, still relatively affordable for the people who've got a bit of spare cash, you want to spend something. Truly outstanding, really. As all Springbank is. Yeah, Whiskey Wednesday score, 8.5 out of 10. 1992 vintage, 51.6%, Springbank 21-year-old. Only available through Loch Fyne Whiskies. So if you are interested, guys, their website is on here. www.lochfynewhiskies.com. I'll probably include it in the thing below, but if you just Google that, you'll be able to find it. It'll be on there. I've no idea what the bottle looks like. It could be a very flash bottle, it might not be. But yeah, if you're interested, do pop along to that website and have a little look. And yeah, lovely, lovely, lovely dram. Thank you all very much for watching. I've been Phil. This is Whiskey Wednesday. That's Springbank 21. Thank you, Rowan. And I will see you all next week, hopefully. Have a nice day. Goodbye.